Well, it's always an exciting day for any football program. You start spring ball, you take that next step on top of we felt like it was a really impactful winter session. Our guys really focused day to day on getting bigger and stronger. That was that primary focus, just on physical for the most part during that stretch. And now we get to see how that looks on the practice field here for the next 5 weeks. Spring ball is a lot of things, but it's primarily about development. And you're certainly trying to develop as a team, but within that is, seeing individuals continue to develop. And there's a lot of physical to that, but there's quite a bit of a mental side that goes into that. Better understanding of what we're doing, offense, defense, special teams. I think for our coaches to learn more about who we have as players, how they learn, what they need to learn, etc., and build upon that on a daily basis. And you want to come out of spring ball's 5 weeks down the road, a better football team, a clearer picture of who we are. Again, what we'll need to continue to work on through the summer months, but really exciting time to say the least. And we got a team that's got plenty of guys returning with experience, with starting experience, and we have plenty of hungry guys that are really ready to step into roles as well. And that's that's going to play out on the turf here 15 times over the next 5 weeks, and really excited about that. We have new coordinators on both sides of the football. Not that our schemes are going to change greatly, but you have different people in those positions, and you take on maybe a little bit different form as those guys think, and then as our team develops, because we want to be able to fit our schemes to our people as opposed to fit our people to our schemes, and we got to figure out what our people can do best, and really let that play out come those Saturdays in the fall. But that's got to be a process that we're very deep into as we go through the spring. A couple new position coaches, and Chucky Keaton and Jody Owens, excited what they've been able to do in their time here. Now they get to let that play out on the field. Both great men, it appears to me, teachers, and now that you take that next step when it goes out to the action, I guess, on the field. So excited about it, and we'll take it day by day. But come April 20th, Sunny Hall Classic, that spring game, excited about what that's going to look like 5 weeks down the road.
You mentioned that winter session. I think the last time we spoke, you said there'd be a lot of reflecting after that NDSU game. What have the last 3 months kind of been like in that department?
Yeah, just that. I think you certainly shift gears in recruiting, and that allows you to keep moving forward. At the same time, I think it's important to look back and learn, and you're going to have a different team, but a lot of components are going to be similar. That's players, that's schemes, that's coaches, that's opponents down the road, and trying to make any tweaks that you can. So I think you reflect and say, okay, what could we have done differently preparing our guys? And that's a year-long process. That's not all of a sudden in December we become this team that we want to be. And so we're gonna do some things again to train the mind, and maybe take a little bit more, and we have focus on that. And I think schematically, once we get done with recruiting in February, you dig really deep and you look at the things we did really well, the things that we didn't maybe do as well. You really want to highlight those strengths moving forward, and probably run away from those weaknesses. And we didn't have a lot of weaknesses, but it was apparent there was things that we didn't do well enough to ultimately finish last year like we wanted to. So those adjustments, however slight they might be, have been made through the winter months. Those points of emphasis, I guess, be it, let's just talk situational football. We weren't good enough, in my opinion, on third down and in the red zone and in big moments. We weren't maybe good enough at executing in the kicking game at times. So we got to find ways for the spring to put those points of emphasis to task and come out of it with a better understanding of who we are in those moments. And it might not be game day, but we got to make game-like situations as much as we can.
Speaking of the kicking situation, what's that look like right now?
Yeah, right now we return the guys that kicked for us last year. And Brendan did some phenomenal things last year. We led the country in touchbacks. He led the country in touchbacks. We led the nation in net punting. So I think continue to have him in our schemes, bring those things forward. But on the place kicking side, we fell short with both guys, with both Brendan and with Casey. So, have an open mind to the competition as we go through the spring right now. I think continue to evaluate whether or not one of those guys will be our guy in the fall. Do we need to bring another guy in? I think that's all still on the table. The specialist recruiting world is an ongoing market, let's say. We haven't brought in, we don't have a kid signed at this point or a young man signed at this point, so we haven't had anybody. I think both guys are certainly capable. I think they showed that at times, and we got to be able to take that a step forward as we go through the spring ball.
Your coordinators aren't new to the program, but what are their points of order going through the spring and rising to the roles of coordinator?
Yeah, I think putting some of our situations to task. I think we have to put those play callers with Tyler and Bobby in probably more situations than normal to have to be on their toes and call plays. Yes, much of spring is scripted, and that's relative to getting the volume we need and getting things done as planned. But typically we do. There are 3 scrimmage opportunities those last 3 weekends, but within the context of some of our other practices, probably do a little bit more where they have to react one play to the next, one situation to the next, and get in that mode of calling plays. Probably have those guys or have our coaching staffs split up and have to communicate probably a little bit more than we maybe typically would have. Tyler would be up and Bobby would be down, but have those same coaches on either side of the ball be in those positions as well. And I think it's already occurred since January, but those guys being able to lead those group of coaches, as we review film, they're in a different chair now. And I've liked what I've seen to this point, and now we have that daily practice, alternating days to look at. And then, those opportunities to get in front of, the offense and defense respectively will be part of it too, and to continue to, be heard from a different vantage point. So a lot of opportunity for growth, and nothing crazy out of the ordinary, but spring is a time to put some things into place that neither one of those guys have been a part of.
Some reshuffling in the quarterback room. Obviously, Sean, new quarterback coach. What are you looking at that group for spring?
Development, period. I think Tommy, going into his last year, coming off what I think was his best performance as a complete quarterback against North Dakota State, build off of that, being, I guess, taught from a different point of view with Chucky Keaton, I think has been a good transition here as we got Chucky here and going at the end of January. And now it'll play out on a much more apparent basis for me, at least day to day, what that all looks like. But I think his development as a complete quarterback, I think certainly is priority one. And then developing the depth behind him. I think Jordan Reed showed some real flashes of his physical ability, both on the practice field and at the end of some games last year. And we need to, we need someone to solidify themselves as the backup quarterback. He would certainly have the leg up as far as his experience. Chance Wilson, Patrick Duchesne, really, Chance has been here a semester longer, but really this second semester of your true freshman year is really when you have your best chance to really take a step forward. And I think we've liked what we've seen out of both those two young guys. Chance has again been around here a little bit longer, but Patrick has really had a good off season. They both ran the scout team against our defense last year very effectively, so excited to see what those guys can do, and they're very much in the mix as far as let's talking backup quarterbacks.
And similar to with the offensive and defensive line, some reshuffling, bringing guys back too. But I guess what are you looking at those two lines?
Well, I think offensively, we returned 5 guys with starting experience. I think that's where you start. I think we have a couple guys on the outside looking in, a Titan Fleischman who just hasn't been healthy, but is healthy right now. We bring in some more Ezekiel. Burke Mastel was a backup last year. I think those guys, and there's more than just that, but those guys are trying to establish themselves. So, do we go into next fall, which is a long ways away, that first game, saying, hey, we feel comfortable with 6, with 7, with 8? And if so, what's the best 5 that we can put out there? What's the best place for us to start? And I think position flexibility and even position determination of the way that fits together is best. Marcus Weir's an All-American tackle, but came in and started at guard the last game. Marcus gave us position flexibility. I think the experience that Cole Sane brings back, playing center, playing both guard positions, will be interesting. I know Connor Moore, we played him at just tackle last year, and he's got that year under his belt, and he was very effective as he provides some different flexibility. So I think that's the biggest thing on the offensive side. And defensively, it's just establishing where do we find those 8, 9, 10 guys. We return Brody and Kenny, who were both, Brody was a starter. Kenny essentially was in a lot of ways at defensive end. Hunter Parsons, Zach Cruz, I think both those guys got a taste. I know Logan Frederickson, had the ACL back in fall. He'll certainly fit in the mix. So how does that all work itself out? I know in the interior, Blake Schmidt's our returning starter. Paul Brott, had he been healthy all year, I think we would have ultimately seen him in that same light, similar to Kenny. How does he continue to come along? Alec Eckert's a new face in there. I know the young guys in that room that I'm really excited about, Talon Marsh and Hunter Charbonneau, their progression through this spring will be very interesting. So I think it's, we got to get to the point where we have 7, 8, 9, even 10 guys that we're counting on. It's pretty unclear exactly what that looks like right now, but hopefully we get out of spring with a better taste.
As far as Tommy and the quarterback situation, do you plan to give him like all of the non-garbage time healthy reps, or is that still kind of a fluid, like somebody else might be sharing any reps with him?
Well, I think in spring he's going to get a huge share of the reps. We have 4 last year. Last year we would have had 4, I suppose, in spring, and the starters, it was a little bit more divided between those guys. But Tommy's going to get a lot of reps. So the 3 guys will get their fair share. I know in fall we had 6. It was a little bit different division when you have 6 last year. But with those 4, Tommy's going to get plenty. The way we practice and with the depth we have kind of across the board, I think we'll be able to double rep quite a bit here as we go through the spring, which, that position is the one that probably benefits from that the most.
Yeah, so not decided yet on like, I'm just trying to get a picture of like if it'll look like last year or the last 2 years with Chambers, being a 2 QB system, or if that's out the table.
You're about that. I think what we did with the 2 quarterbacks, that was a product of those 2 guys.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys, really having the experience in the starting experience for that matter that they both had, what they independently brought to the table, but then collectively what they did. So that was more, I would say, a moment in time as it was, hey, this is what the Montana State offense is going to be, and we want it to continue to be. If ultimately we have a guy that can lend something situationally, that's probably where it started with Sean. I think we would maybe look at it, but it's not something we're trying to force by any means.
Yeah. And one of the guys you lost in that room, Luke Abshire, I'm just curious if there's any sort of lead on who might be the starting holder this coming season?
Well, Patrick Duchesne was a guy that had some experience coming in from high school and did a good job in a really short window at the beginning of fall camp. So he would be one guy that we would start to look at. But we got to create some depth there. Luke did a really good job, one of the unsung positions on our team last year for sure. And we hate to see Luke go, but life took turn for him, and we wish him and his fiance the best moving forward.
And then as far as play calling, is that 100% or the plan is 100% Tyler and Bobby calling plays on game day, or is that up in somebody else?
That's the decision that when I hired those two guys that I intended on. Speaking of defense, I intentionally want Sean Howe to be the co-defensive coordinator, and that's a game planning, that's a preparation, that's an in-game adjustments title that I want to be real. But as far as calling plays, one guy can call plays. I don't think there's a world that exists very well where you can have alternating play calling by any means. So that charge will be with Bobby, and then Tyler, the same thing goes on offense. Not that between Al and Justin and myself, whatever we'll be involved in, again, the planning and preparation, but the play calling will lie with Tyler.
Any injuries or players having to miss spring at all? Or?
Yeah, we do have a few. I knew you'd ask that, so I made note of that. So Zach Black, he got hurt beginning part of the year. He will be out through the spring. He'll be able to do some things, but as far as live drills, Neil Daly, same thing. Had surgery in the fall. Had to have another surgery here in the off season. Again, expect him to be doing something by the end of spring, but not full go. I mentioned Logan Fredrickson already. He and Caden Dowler had the ACLs in the fall, and they're really far along with their recovery, and will be full go during the summer, but not quite there as of yet. I think those would be the four guys that would maybe figure in to the two deep right now that would be out.
Obviously, the position group that's kind of the youngest right now, a little less experience, is the tight ends. How important would it be just to develop that group specifically?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We had two all-conference players there, and I think one of the things that did occur last year is it became apparent how much we missed Derek Snell when he wasn't playing. But then what happened out of that, Ryan Larga got more of a taste of playing time and what that all looked like than we would have anticipated, and I thought he did quite well. He's not necessarily Derek Snell by any means, but he was out there playing and he did some really good things for us, blocking, catching the ball. But again, that taking him another step forward, he's the one I failed to mention. I didn't put parentheses around him. Ryan will be out for the spring as well. So Ryan's development, I think, at least that occurred back as we look at the fall, and then behind that, that was a real reason why we wanted to bring Rohan Jones in. Rohan's a guy that has experience. His skill set in some ways does emulate Derek. He's not to Derek's playmaking ability yet, but his skill set, being a former high school running back and then being a receiver and transitioning to tight end at Maine, he'll be a fun piece to work with this spring and see what comes of that. Rylan Schlepp was a young player that was really making some headway, and then he had an illness essentially that shut him down for a good chunk of the fall. So he was able to redshirt, but really made some good progress on the front end of that. So he hopefully pick up where he left off there. And then Hunter Provience got on the field, but he's also going to be a freshman. So Rylan and Hunter, we have guys that have played, done some meaningful things, but still have a ways to come. So I would start with those four at that position group, and like I said, Ryan being the lead, unfortunately he'll be out this spring.
And then to start last year, you were out with both Taco and Ty. What does it mean to just have them back for spring ball to possibly develop that return game both on kickoff and
real important. I think in Taco and Ty, and certainly Marquis, I think we have some extra guys that can get the ball in their hands in the return game and really make a difference. And it didn't quite have the impact. We were really good in the coverage side of things last year on both punt and kickoff side. We weren't as impactful on the return side, in part because Taco missed as much time as he did. So really excited to get him back in full swing there, and certainly full swing receiver-wise, and really the same goes for Ty as well. I think the receiver position is an interesting one on the offensive side as well, with Junior Alexander now being eligible, the continued development of Aiden Garrigan. I know Javante King's a young player that flashed in the fall that we're excited about as well.
As far as so I think Kimball Max Kimball and Luke Fedek are back. Is that right?
Yeah. So Luke Fedek, is back. Miles Sanson is back this spring. They're both back as specialists. Luke is a long snapper now. He's been at the end before, and then Miles on the kicking side to continue to compete. And then Kimball, Max, unfortunately, he's had a whole bunch of injuries going back to high school. He got injured again this winter. So even though he's rostered, he won't be with us beyond this spring. So
he's gone to the gamut.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you have this off the top of your head, but I was just curious about the other players who left along with Luke. I mean, I know Bill mentioned Aiden Parks and Aaron Richards, Holden Sampson all retired, right?
Yes, all guys that have graduated or are graduating this semester, choosing to move on. I know, those three in particular are all graduating from here. Even Jacob Kettles is graduating from Montana State this semester, so whether he continues to play or not. So I think, with this extra year still in the midst of things, you get some of those situations. Devin Davis is the other one that is choosing to be done. He's had a whole host of injuries as he's gone along, but will graduate from Montana State in the fall. So I think that would cover him.
Yeah, as far as retirements. And
Yeah.
I think you mentioned Berold has moved on from the program.
Yep, it's still here. Yep.
Still here, but
Yep.
not with the program.
Yep.
Just I think a couple more. Michael Armstrong.
Same thing, he's still here, but not with the program anymore.
And then Elijah Reynolds.
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
Yep.
Those are the names I looked
Yeah.
at on the roster last
Yep.
year that
Yep.
weren't there anymore. So.
Yeah, I know I think of guys that had intended, that have graduated, intended to go anywhere. I think Kendrick Bailey would be the one that I haven't seen if he's landed anywhere.
And Kuhn, I think Garrett Kuhn.
Garrett Kuhn is graduating from MSU this semester as well, so I don't know what his intention is necessarily.
Yeah, in the portal, I guess.
Yeah.
Any other additions? Anybody else who didn't sign or anything? Like
No, it would be
walk-ons?
the additions currently would be Ezekiel, Eckert.
Yeah, Sanset, I guess, coming back. Yeah.
Yep. 3 transfer guys were Ezekiel, Eckert, and Rohan Jones.
Right.
Yep.
One last for me. Do the stadium renovations present any different logistics for spring ball or anything? Or
Just wherever we can enter the field.
Yeah.
And we probably can't kick towards the scoreboard a whole lot. We'll kick on the other end, I guess. But it's great seeing that scoreboard go up. It's pretty evident the size and scope of what it's going to be as the frame has gone up 3 times as big. So I think the game day experience, the video, the sound will be so much enhanced. So we're really excited about that, and I think it'll come up before our eyes here this spring.
Don't want Brendan Hall kicking at that scoreboard. Ruin some of the construction.
It is.